Hello, theologisters, sisters, and misters.
Welcome to the coven.
And I'm an interloper here from another podcast, here to crash their show with wanton abandon and then leave.
So if you guys couldn't tell, we have a third person on today. This is Chris from the incredible podcast, Scary Stories We Tell. Speaking of telling, why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so I am normally joined by Jess, who is the co-host of the show, but she is doing what she does best. I guess also as good as podcasting is her work on movie and film. So she's actually on set, but Jess and I host a weekly show called Scary Stories We Tell, where we talk to folks like y'all. We talk about weird things, true crime, horror, paranormal, unexplained, all kinds of stuff. When you guys are on, I guess these episodes are coming out very close and or the same week, Arthur did a tarot reading for Jess. So we're kind of, open to all kinds of things. So that's why I'm here with you guys, because, well, you guys are cool. We like your podcast, and we've been trying to get this going for months now, it seems like. It seems like this summer has been the summer of reschedules. But that's what goes on at our show, is just chill vibes and weird stuff.
Honestly, such a mood, and I'm here for it. We're super excited to have you on. So we're going to talk a little bit about your experience that you had, I believe, fairly recently, your own personal haunting.
Yeah. One of, I guess, I mentioned it on the show. I think it's one of 2 or 3 times, I guess, depending on how kind of strict the guidlines are around, like, what is an encounter and what.
Well, Arthur will be the judge. I will
I was about to say.
questions.
You guys can be the judge. You tell me if I'm full of it. But I promise you I'm not.
I mean, you guys, if you've listened to our show before, you've heard us do, Reddit reactions and trying to pick apart whether or not an experience was really supernatural or whether or not it could be explained away or debunked. So what's really cool about having somebody actually come on and tell us their ghost story is that all of the questions that we ask ourselves with no answers, we can actually ask somebody to clarify. And who knows?
You guys are obviously more than welcome to interrupt me at any point. This singular event happened a couple months ago. I don't remember now, but it was after the first of the year. I know that much. I think it was sometime in March or February. And it's not the first time something has happened in our house, but I will say it's the most pronounced thing. Well, pronounced is a strange word. I will say it's the thing that, like, if I'm thinking about things that have happened in the house, it's the thing that I would, like, point to as, like, okay, this is, like, a weird thing.
It's the most compelling evidence you have.
I think for me, at least, and I know for my wife, it was the thing that her and I met in the middle on, because something happened to her the same evening. I would say that I have zero evidence either way, because it's just me telling you what I felt. So take that with what you will.
The same way that I will forever believe Arthur at face value, and I let people do with that what they will, I will do the same here.
And I believe Arthur as well, because I have seen Arthur do tarot card things that make no sense to me, because Arthur does not know me that well. And yet Arthur was able to pin down some things that should only be for people who have known me for a long time.
I'm glad I was able to give you a good tarot reading.
You given that I'm someone who has previously felt kind of apoplectic towards tarot, as in just
that's
like,
a vocab word.
It's whatever as far as I was concerned. I was surprised at how on the nose it was. So that changed my opinion on it pretty drastically. So.
You guys know I've had a whole character development regarding tarot, so I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's one of those things, similarly to the story I'm about to tell, like, I don't know what to think about it, but I know that it makes me question things. So that's a good thing. So my story, it was a couple months ago, and my wife and I were lying in bed, and I was lying there, facing the window, so I was on my left, facing to the right, and I heard in the bedroom's pitch black, it's quiet, my wife has her noise machine on, but nothing. I haven't put my headphones on. I normally put my headphones on before I go to sleep. I have a pair of Bose Bose noise canceling headphones. I normally have them on when I go to sleep because I listen to things. And so I was sitting there about to put my headphones on, and I hear a like 2 feet above me and about 2 to 3 feet up. So it's like in the air above me, which like there's nothing that could be there. But like, again, lying on my side, my ear, facing up, looking straight, I could tell spatially where it was in the room, like clear as day. And I will tell you, I did not move after that noise. I stayed put and didn't move for the rest of the night. How do I know I didn't move? Because I fell asleep at some point, but I didn't move after I heard the noise. And I woke up the next morning and I was talking to my wife in the evening. And I was like, hey, I want to tell you something that happened last night. And she was like, me too. She had something happen in the bedroom when she went into the bedroom before I did, because she went to bed before I did. Our lights in our bedroom were turning on and off on their own for a while. They don't do it as much anymore. But I think she either heard or felt something in the bedroom that evening too, plus the lights were turning on and off, just like seemingly at random. We still don't know why it does that, and who knows.
Does the light switch itself ever move?
No, the light switch is actually it's on a remote control.
Oh, okay.
So like you flip the light switches on, and then you turn the light on and off at the controller, not even on not even on a switch.
So the closest thing that I recall making that kind of noise is a fantasy type version of a skinwalker, which wouldn't really be something you would
He's gonna fucking launch into this with skinwalkers, yeah. Arthur? What the fuck, man? Come on. Oh, by the way, it's just a fantasy skinwalker. No worries. Okay.
But I don't believe
Thank you.
I don't believe that it was exactly a skinwalker, but
not exactly.
The noise is similar to something that I've seen in a comic specifically, but obviously people have to grab inspiration for comics from other
Real
places.
Life,
sure.
Experiences.
So I'm sitting here thinking, oh God, what if it's a version, like a sub-version of a skinwalker that just decided to cling to your ceiling?
I mean, my question would be, they don't just like wander into homes unless you like
no, they
leave
don't.
the door open.
So
anyway,
let me preface what you just said, Emma, with something that Arthur is undoubtedly going to ask me. We have had a friend who is sensitive, as I would say, to these kinds of things. I don't know if she's an empath or not. I don't even know if that's a term that people use or would use, but if I were to use a term like that, that is what I would say she is.
Very spiritually inclined.
Yeah, she has said that she felt something connected to me when she's around us. And she's a good friend of ours. I mean, she stays at our house overnight all the time, stuff like that. So she has said that she has felt something connected to me.
To you, not to the house?
Correct.
Oh, that's concerning.
It's concerning because these things were also happening. The lights would randomly turn on and off on their own at the old place we used to live at, which was an apartment complex in Texas. Yeah. So the light thing has followed us for a while, and there we didn't have controllers. It was literally switches.
So different setup in terms of
lighting.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it was more of an electric thing, not like the switches were actually flipping on their own. Because
we
have heard a story like that.
Well, where the switch is fucking moving on its own on the wall.
Yeah, we read a story.
If I saw that, I would be out of here, okay? I'm just gonna level with both of y'all. There is no universe that I live in where I look over and see the switch on the wall turning and I don't get out of the house immediately.
Valid.
And look, we talk about this stuff on a weekly basis. That shouldn't be my response, is to dip out. But that is 100% my response.
I recently had somebody stay over this weekend, and they were talking about evil spiritual ghosts and like being afraid that they might be in my house. And I was like, I hate to tell you this, but my house has been warded against evil spirits for quite some time. And he was like, really? And I was like,
I hate to tell you this is...
I hate to tell you that you're very, very wrong.
I hate to tell you that you're safe, but you're safe.
Well, it was kind of like hate to tell you, but you haven't noticed that my house has been warded for quite some time.
Arthur's bullshit meter was very strongly going off.
I mean, we've had some other stuff go on. It's less kind of intrusive, but several times when my wife and I have been in the basement of our house, because we live in the Midwest, we have basements here.
I also have a basement. I live in the Northeast.
Yeah, well, we don't live in the South, which means there aren't any basements.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah, the ground shifts too much in the summertime for them to have basements.
Weird.
Yeah, so when we were in our basement, my wife said one time she was walking out of, we have like an unfinished side where we keep all of our kind of like storage stuff. We have a refrigerator for like beer and stuff down there. And she said one time she was coming through the door into the finished side of our basement and she heard something coming at her. And she says she heard it because she could hear its feet walking on the carpet because we have carpet in the basement. It sounded like it was moving at her quickly on the carpet. And like we all know what that sounds like.
God,
so
that's
it was
horrifying.
Like and then it stopped once it got to her. So yeah, so I've seen things out of the corner of my eye in the basement as well. Kind of like shadowy figures standing out of the corner of my eye. Kind
Was
of at
that
the bottom
before
of the
or
stairs.
after she told you about this?
But told me about what? The shuffling feet?
Yeah, before she had an experience.
That was before.
So you experienced seeing things before she put that thought into your head.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I mean, that's my story. It's not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I feel about it. I think for me, there's a little bit of trepidation, given that we have a friend saying, "Oh, there's something attached to you." But at the same time, a feeling is a feeling, and feelings can't be measured. That's why.
Yeah.
Their feelings and not factual quantitative data. So I don't know what it is. I'm not qualified enough to make that approximation as to what I think it is, but I think if it was really angry, it would have done more than it's done. I'll say that much.
Sure.
So the question I have is, Arthur, how do I taunt it into doing more?
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Arthur's face is fucking priceless. Arthur, how do I make it worse? Just like, let's say for a moment here, I wanted to make it worse for the sake of argument. Not that I'm going to, but say
I want to know, just in general.
If I wanted to call the ghost names and make it worse, what would I do?
What would you say?
Yeah, like would I knock 3 times on the wall and say, "Enter my soul or my spirit, please"? Is that an option?
Well, now I'm kind of curious what to do if you actually want to taunt a ghost.
To taunt a ghost, I bet you would just go and do whatever the fuck Zach Bagans does on Ghost Adventures, which is scream at the ghost and say, "Come fight me!"
Yeah, I hear for the most part, especially if it's more of a malevolent kind of energy, welcoming it into your body, giving it access verbally to your space, telling it, fine, do it, you won't. It's probably the worst thing, in my opinion. Yeah. But that's just my humble
those
opinion.
were the things that I was going to say.
Is implicitly invite it into me is the worst thing I could do? Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
I'm pretty sure, what was the name of the case? The one that I think the original Conjuring was based on? The Devil Made Me Do It.
Wait, are you talking about the one where the guy supposedly was possessed by the devil?
Yeah, and he was, because he was like, he taunted a spirit during an exorcism to enter him instead, and then he was like driven to kill somebody. That was a real thing.
Well,
I mean, that was a real case that had happened.
He claims it's real. But what do you think, Arthur? What is your inner you telling you about what's going on?
You guys can't see his face, but gears are turning.
What do you think, Arthur?
Well, I'm inclined to believe that rather than being a demon, that it's probably just a spirit. Not malevolent, but more so trickstery. Probably got in through a window or a crack somewhere and decided to fuck with you.
Is it attached to me? Because if it's been turning the lights off and on, that was like 7 years ago before we lived here, and it's persisted. This is not like a recent thing, is what you're getting at.
Where did you live again? Was it Texas?
We lived in Texas. My wife and I met in Texas, and then 3 years into dating, we moved up here. But this is persistent.
There's a southern ghost called ahaint that tends to come into people's homes. I haven't done enough research on ahaint to say that it would be
I'm
one.
trying really hard not to laugh at the word haint.
Wow.
That was very mature, as we can see.
Well, it's because it sounds like taint, which is the area in between your butt and your balls. So there you go. It's out in the open, and we can all laugh about it now.
We're a very family-friendly podcast.
Yep. So Arthur, what would be the best thing that I could do to keep the spirit in check other than sage and smudge stick?
Well, let me interject real quick because
You're not Arthur.
I have many questions. No, Arthur, I have questions for
Listen
you.
here.
Arthur, I have questions for you before we get to how to mitigate. I have so many questions.
Okay.
I am the voice of our audience, and our audience
It's
most
true.
likely has questions.
Okay.
My first question to you is there any way to tell whether or not it is actually attached to Chris or to a space?
Well, having a friend who is an empath is definitely very helpful. Also, now this is a drastic idea, but staying away from your home on your own would be able to prove whether or not it was just attached to you rather than a location or
That's true.
an object that you may
Have you ever traveled and for I don't know, like a week or so at a time and felt like something was attached to you or that weird things were happening? Like no matter how small.
Do I feel like something's attached to me when I leave, or does the house feel like something is attached to it when I'm not there?
I guess that
Or
would be a
both,
question to
I
ask your
guess.
wife, yeah.
I guess technically both questions. When I'm not here, I don't think about it. So maybe that answers your question.
All the times that your wife has had experiences, have you been in the home?
For the most part.
Okay.
Let me ask you something, Arthur. Is this the kind of thing that if I were somewhere else, it might manifest itself? Or is this the kind of thing where if I'm not here, well, I guess if it's attached to me, it would always be with me?
If it's attached to you, it's likely a malevolent spirit. If it's attached to the location and attached to your things and your presence and the home, then it's quite possible that it's a lesser demon.
So I guess
Demon.
so now the follow-up question, because you were saying originally ahaint, which is inherently a very funny word. Why are you saying demon now?
The reason I'm saying demon now is because if it's not ahaint, then
I'm researching what ahaint is. A type of ghost or evil spirit from the Carolina coast. According to Appalachian history, Dave Tabler, the word haint can refer to an angry dead spirit.
which is why my brain went demon, but it still sounds like haint.
Maybe I should put a bottle tree in my front yard because apparently that is where bottle trees come from. Bottle trees are used as catchers, like dream catchers, to catch haints.
Oh.
Which is absolutely insane to learn because I honestly thought bottle trees were just something that people did because they had nothing better to do with bottles. I guess, Arthur, where would this have come from?
The last house that you lived in the south, because the haints seem to come from the south, especially slaves.
Huh. Because I don't remember. I don't. I'm just trying to think here if it was at the place. My wife would be able to tell me, but if it was at the place, the first, because we've lived in 3 places together.
Mm-hmm.
And the first place we lived together, I don't remember anything happening. But again, I may not have just been noticing or dialed in or tuned in. So I don't know. Should I be worried?
Does it bother you? Is the real
I guess
issue.
it hasn't
Is this
hurt you
bothering
yet.
you?
I don't
believe it can hurt you.
Should it be bothering me? Should I be bothered by this?
I think
Would you be bothered by this, Emma or Arthur? I mean, Arthur obviously is a kind of a different case.
Arthur would
Emma,
not
would
be
you
bothered by this. Arthur
Right,
would
yeah,
light a
just-
fucking candle, check his salt lines, and call it a day. On the other hand,
I'd get rid of it very quickly.
Right.
Because it would just interfere with my life. I'd be like, you know what? You're annoying.
Right.
See, now to me, as somebody who's never had a supernatural experience, as Arthur has said many, many, many times, I will shit myself. So yes, I would probably be absolutely terrified of it. Most likely.
Emma just sobbing under the covers.
That's very...
Just like, Arthur, come over.
So, okay, it could be a haint. If it's a haint, I guess we wouldn't be too concerned. It's more of like a, if you'd like to get rid of it, there are, I guess, documented ways such as painting the color haint blue, or as you said, the bottle tree, which I found by a 2-second Google search. Or if it's a demon, we should be very concerned. But I mean, the telltale signs from what
It seems less likely.
I mean, if it was really attached to you, I think that the activity would slowly increase over time and that it would become physical. If I'm, making the correct assumption from what I've heard about possible demonic hauntings, very often you'll see like red scratch marks that burn on your skin, things like that, like actual markings
Right.
And ghosts don't do that from what I know. That's really just a demon thing. So if you don't feel like physically threatened, I wouldn't be too concerned.
I have one more question for Arthur.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, so just sitting here thinking about this. In doing a show about these kinds of things, does that make me more susceptible to these kinds of things?
No, because Emma's also doing a show similar with me.
Well, I think that I am a special
Y'all's show is a
case.
little bit more introspective than ours is about yourselves. We normally don't talk
Yeah.
about ourselves on our show.
I would say that I'm a special case in the fact that, as far as I know, I've never had a supernatural experience. So, as far as I know, I might not ever be able to have one, which is why in the future, Arthur and I want to experiment with that. Go to like a haunted place, like a location during the day, most likely, because I'm a baby, and like attempt like a spirit box
To
session
go
or
try to
things.
do something during the day? What is
I
this?
Arthur, they exist during the day. They don't go away, right?
They're not very active.
I'm not sure Arthur's going to give you the answer that you want on that one, Emma.
I
Everything's
don't
always
talk
at
Arthur,
to
we
night.
my
could go during
goddess
the
in the
day.
day.
Right, Arthur? Right? We
Everything's
could go during
always
the
at
day.
night for you. I swear, since like the first 5 episodes, you've been trying to encourage me to just go outside at night and not die.
Going
I'll
outside
take you
at
with
night
me and
is
we can
great.
take a cell phone. Like,
Yeah, at first you were like, no cell phone. Just go outside. Just see what happens. It'll be great.
I don't think that I've ever considered that you also don't have a goddess to look after you whilst
Yeah,
you're in the
yeah.
darkness.
No fucking shit. We've had this conversation before, but
So to your point though, Arthur, I'm not doing myself any undue harm by
you're not
hosting a
causing any of that.
show. Okay. That's ultimately my biggest concern. I don't want to draw anything in. Like I don't want to welcome any negative energy.
I feel like if anything, you're opening yourself up to noticing more. I don't think you'll necessarily be drawing more things to you, but I do think that like just the fact that like you're going out of your way to acknowledge it as a whole, that your brain isn't going to go out of its way to ignore it as much.
That's
So
fair.
take that what you will. I would consider that more of a psychological response than anything else.
Yeah.
You just don't notice things when you don't think about them. The moment you start thinking about them, it starts to pop up all over the place, but it might have been there the whole time.
Like
That's-
red Volkswagen, right? Think about a red Volkswagen, all of a sudden you start seeing them everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Which is just obviously a psychological phenomenon.
Definitely not simulation theory. We're not living in a simulation. I promise that's not what it is.
But is it manifestation?
We're in a simulation.
That's just what a simulation person would say.
Exactly.
So-
I was going to say that is what a simulation is all about. It's all about manifestation.
So before we give our final thoughts, let's assume that it is completely 100% real, or if somebody else is also dealing with something similar. So Arthur, how would we go out of our way to make such a thing go away, I suppose?
Other than the smudgings, Florida water is one thing that I would do.
Say that one more time.
Florida water?
Florida
That's what I
water?
thought you said.
Yeah.
Water from the Floridians?
Yes.
Oh,
Water from wait, hold on. Water from Florida?
Yeah, I believe it's Florida water.
what the fuck does that have to do with
Wait,
anything?
Yeah, I'm very confused.
You take bits of it and you splash it around the house.
But
and
why
it
Florida?
purifies.
Why from Florida?
I don't know.
I have
look
to
into
look
that
that
bit.
up. I have to
know. Someone look this up, please.
Florida water supernatural question mark. How to use
I've never
spell
heard of this.
Florida water. How to make your own Florida water for spells.
Okay, so
Fuck
yeah.
is Florida water.
Emma
Yeah.
and I are not witches, just to point this out, and we should not have questioned what Arthur had to say.
It clears things of negative energy. Also, a bell. If you take a bell and you ring it around the house, just walk somewhere, ring the bell, walk to another spot, ring the bell. That's called audio cleansing, and you can cleanse the area with just a bell. What other cleansing methods do I use? I personally, especially if it is a haint, would be because of the way that they enter homes, I would suggest black salt on any windows or window frames or doorways. Just little lines of black salt.
You can buy
Is that-
Florida water on Amazon. I just want to make that known.
It's not.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, Jeff Bezos
$8
wants to
and
cover
free shipping.
cover every base possible. Question about the salt thing.
Mhm.
Does it stay there permanently?
What,
That
like,
is
does it
messy.
stain or does it?
No, as in, like, are you supposed to keep it there?
Like, am I supposed to just put it and then leave it, put it and leave it for good, put it and then vacuum it up 10 minutes later?
I put it and leave it for good and then change it out once every 6 months or so.
So, I mean,
But
for the
that's because
average
I'm a witch. For the
homeowner,
average homeowner,
I was
maybe
about to
leave it
say.
for a couple months or so.
Whoa.
Maybe like 1, 2.
Interesting. Okay. And is that just tell the spirits that I am keeping you away, and at some point it will just be understood to not come back?
It keeps away any new spirits from entering.
Gotcha. Okay.
yeah, but not the old ones. Arthur, would you recommend some sort of candle?
Well, that's why you would cleanse the area and then
First.
make sure that they can't come back as well.
Right.
But, like, aren't there, like, banishing candles and that kind of thing?
There are banishing candles as well. They are 7-day pillar candles, I believe. Those are good ones that you can just light, and you have to leave it for 7 days. It has to burn all the way down.
Holy cow.
I've had some that burn for 8 days.
Wow, the miracle of lights.
Is
They're,
it supposed to just burn the whole time?
Yeah.
Unlike in Hanukkah, where you are allowed to not have it burn for 8 days straight.
Well, I had mine burning, and it was a money candle, and I wasn't going to mess with that one.
I mean, but it's not like you couldn't leave your apartment with a candle burning, could you?
I did.
I was gonna
Arthur,
say,
that's
sure sounds like
bad.
Arthur did.
Arthur, that's bad. Arthur, that's a
Would it
fire
just make-
hazard.
Would it be ironic to leave your house burning a money candle only to come home and everything you own is on fire? That is
Make sure that
irony.
there's nothing flammable next to it.
That's fair.
I guess
Keep it away from flammable items.
put it on a metal tray.
Put it on a tray in your sink, surrounded by water.
Put it on a tray in your unused bathtub.
Yeah. So if it
Everybody
burns,
may or may not have an extra bathtub.
yeah, for 7 days, leave it alone.
And just because you have the candle does not mean that you need to leave it in one particular place. You
Also
could move it to your bathtub if you needed to, if
Also
you were
true.
leaving. Oh,
Oh?
light a white candle if you just have one.
If you have a candle that's like not dyed, like a white.
Yeah.
Can it be scented?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you can snuff that one out whenever.
Okay.
So now that we have discussed what it possibly could have been and how to get rid of it if need be, the question remains, Arthur, do we think it's supernatural?
Yeah, I'd give it a 10 out of 10 spooks because it's absolute. I believe it.
I believe you too, Arthur. Thank you.
You're the one telling the story.
You're telling stories on your show too, just like I am. I believe you too.
Oh, okay, you were referring to that. I thought you were saying that you believe me.
I also believe
On
that
you.
you believe me.
And I was
mean,
like,
Believe
wait a
in the me that
minute.
believes in you.
yeah,
Yeah,
I believe-
that.
Yeah.
The specific things would be the noises, the friend who talks about being an empath, which I 110% believe. The lights, there's just so many things that just link to things that I have experienced as well. So I'm sitting here going, that's absolutely true. This is factual. So,
So you give it a 10
and
out
this
of 10.
isn't something, this isn't something that he would just make up on the spot.
Well, no. You and
Especially
I
considering that he didn't know the names of things or how to get rid of them,
No.
and just
I've told this to one other person who is an expert at what they do. She's a ghost hunter, paranormal investigator, and she came to the same conclusion. So now I have someone from kind of both sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I can see that.
'Cause
for
she's
sure.
not like, she didn't seem to be she's
Spiritual?
probably sensitive, but not sensitive in the way that you are, Arthur. So if that makes sense.
I'm not concerned for your safety.
Well, that's good. I hope if you were, you would tell me.
Yeah, I'd be like, get that thing out of your house right now.
Yeah, leave, Chris. It's coming for you.
I guess I'll give my arbitrary opinion, which is I'm gonna rate it an 8 out of 10. I feel like I need to give it some leeway. Arthur is giving me a face like, oh, of course you would.
Well, you're
get
the
it.
skeptic.
I get it.
I am very inclined to say that the experiences that you have, you know, they are in line with stuff that Arthur has told me in the past, which is why I am inclined to say sure. The only reason why I'm a little skeptical is obviously we don't have any hard evidence. It is all anecdotal. Not that you hadn't experienced it, but it is hard to say whether or not, you know, those experiences were psychological.
Could you ever give someone's anecdotal evidence a 10 out of 10 then, per your own admission just now?
I think Arthur is the only one that I've ever been able to because we've talked about the fact that it could be very much mental health related, but we talked extensively about the fact that his doctors had considered schizophrenia and rolled it out.
Right.
The fact
I'd
So
also
that's
considered it and asked them, and they had ruled it out.
so that's the evidence.
that
That
is
is
hard.
kind of
That
the
is
evidence.
harder
That's the
evidence
kind
for
of
me.
evidence. Okay. Okay. I didn't know. I didn't kind of understand what you meant by evidence. So that makes perfect sense.
I
Yeah.
will also emphasize that I will say this on the podcast, that I do have lupus, which is an autoimmune disease, and it attacks my brain. And so I've had to have MRIs that
MRIs.
scanned my brain, which if I had schizophrenia, it would have popped up on that.
After we discussed that, I actually Googled it to make sure that schizophrenia would show up on an MRI, and the answer is yes.
And if more people with lupus were experiencing the things that you were experiencing, Arthur, then it would be a shared psychosis.
Which I have seen that psychosis is a very, very rare symptom of lupus. However, these experiences happened before I was diagnosed
Right.
with lupus
You were
at all, and
having
there were any flare-ups.
as soon
Right.
as 5 years old was your first
Right. No,
timeline.
I believe Arthur explicitly as well. I was just more curious when you said
Yeah,
evidence.
of course.
Because like the evidence in my mind that I could present theoretically here would be having someone come out and check my lights and tell me why would my lights turn on?
Yeah, I would say that is pretty good evidence. If it's
Yeah.
completely unexplainable. You said that your wife had a noise machine on. It very well could have been some weird glitch from your noise machine.
The noise machine would have come from my left, not my right, though. Or would
That's why I ruled that out.
because I was laying like this, so it was like the noise machine is like in front of me.
Mhm.
This was like up on the ceiling, to Arthur's point, which I had never thought about that, which is horrifying.
So for all of those reasons, that's why I rate it an 8 out of 10. I want to believe the fact that Arthur is comparing it to his experiences, and I find that incredibly valid. But I guess one last question to you, Chris, before we wrap up. Are you a skeptic when it comes to the supernatural?
I don't struggle to believe the supernatural.
Okay.
For me, that's like the way I view it, and I've said this on our show before, is it would be awfully arrogant of me or us as a species to believe that we can just quantify everything via science. There has to be some mystery or something in the world to keep people searching and wanting for more, because I will tell you, if this is it and this is the only whatever we get, awful. I have
told Arthur many times, I don't want my perception of reality to be the real reality.
Correct.
It's boring. The way that I view the world is so boring in comparison to Arthur. I have said this so many times, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope at some point I can be 110% convinced, but not yet. We haven't gotten there yet, although I love tarot.
If I get to the pearly gates and there is a God and there was all that, my response will be exactly this. Oops. Like, what do you want me to say? Like,
yeah.
Sorry. I mean, that's the thing. For me, my belief, similarly to yours, Emma, if this is it, if this is all like, if my reality is actually reality and there is nothing more going on, there's no cosmic underpinnings or anything to our world, then we have been living in quite possibly the most boring reality possible.
Oh, yeah, 110%.
I do have to say, Emma, after that green candle, though, or rather after the candle from Salem, I did get well over 10 commissions.
I know. Again, these are things I all take into account. The fact that you lit a candle for abundance and then you had an absolute, overflow of commissions within like a week.
I'm still dealing with them.
Manifesting your own reality is a thing, I'm convinced.
I'm getting there. I've been actually practicing, occasionally I will be like, all right, universe, if you out there, and I'll say X, Y, and Z. And, I do my best to keep an open mind because I can't say it enough. My version of reality is boring as fuck.
I was about to say, the way, Arthur, to turn this back on you, the way I interpret your experiences is whatever you're communing with the universe in a meaningful way. Whatever it is, people commune with the universe in their own way all the time. The universe has many different ways, I believe, of communing with us, and it shows its form in different ways. The way that the universe communes with Arthur is going to be very different from the way it communes with you, Emma, or me, if it does at all.
Yeah.
And maybe it is, and we just don't recognize it or realize it. Arthur is clearly more susceptible to it than you and I are, which is probably both a blessing and a curse in a
I
lot of
agree.
ways.
Oh, I so heavily agree.
And that for me is, I think, the biggest takeaway from ever talking about this stuff, which is insanely personal. It's intensely personal.
Oh,
The
yeah,
story
we
that I
talked
told
about that too with Arthur
the story
sharing
that
his
I told,
stories.
people would never tell this story 30, 40 years ago because
Oh, God,
they
no.
wouldn't want to put their professional career on the line to talk about these kinds of things. And I think it's a shame because, at least at our podcast, and I know at yours, and I think our community as a whole needs to be better about this, someone's beliefs are always going to be important to them.
Oh, yeah.
And that is ultimately really that all we can do as human beings is just be cognizant of everyone else's experiences because, man, we're all living at the same time. And isn't that crazy in and of itself?
Yeah.
That there are how many millions of us on this planet all having our own lives with our own connections to people that will never meet each other. I mean, it's beautiful and horrifying all at the same time.
We are our beliefs. And
Mhm.
I fully believe myself that no matter what stance you take on anything, as long as it is not malicious, you go for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on that lovely wrap up, I hope you guys enjoyed having Chris on the show. I know we did. This has been an incredible conversation. Chris, it is always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, as always.
Why don't you tell everybody, where they can find you? Anything else you want to share?
Yeah, so you can find Jess and I over at scarystorieswetell.com, also on Instagram, also on Twitter, also on podcatchers, both iOS and Android. That's where you can find us. And over at, like I mentioned, scarystorieswetell.com. Jess and I do a show every week about a different topic. Sometimes it's talking to folks like y'all. Sometimes it's talking about things. Sometimes it's critiquing something. So all different kinds of content. We didn't want to push ourselves too far into a box, so we made our own box. And
well, lovely.
And they're on our show this week.
Yeah.
So come on over and listen to them for like 2 hours, I think we talked.
Oh, wow.
I think.
Of course we did.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole tarot reading in
That's
there too.
true.
So
yeah. So if you guys come from our side and you have yet to see the other half of this collab, since we're posting this on Friday, Scary Stories We Tell will have our episode up, and that will be released the prior Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be linking everything below. Of course, we're going to be linking, everything to Chris as well, so you guys don't have to Google anything because I know how annoying that can be.
Yeah, everybody talks about stuff in podcasts and then never links to it.
Oh,
like, go find it yourself. Like, what if I don't want to?
No, you lost all of my attention.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but yeah.
Same.
On that note, Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I suppose, as always, stay spooky.
Bye.